Right, happy Friday everyone. So today's topic, reasons why you can't follow a meal plan and why diets usually fail. So it's that time of the year where, a lot of people are looking for quick fixes. And so I often get the question, can I just get a meal plan? How much for a meal plan? And so on. And first of all, if this is you or something that you're considering, look, first of all, I just want to congratulate you. It's great that you're looking at ways that you can improve your fitness and nutrition. And of course, it seems like an obvious solution to that, or to why you're not where you're at in terms of your fitness and nutrition goals, is that you need a meal plan or a diet. And the assumption, of course, being that if you had a strict diet or the perfect diet for your meal plan or precise recipes, that it'd be really straightforward to eat better. And, I guess, a lot of you, I appreciate that you guys are the boss of what you want to do and how you want to do it, but coaches exist for a reason, and they exist because they help you to not to waste time focusing on things that you think you want and not what you actually want. And they've basically done the legwork for you, right, to accelerate that journey for you. Now, for example, if you, you don't really want a meal plan. What you want are the results you think you get from being on a meal plan, right? The problem is that often a meal plan doesn't meet you where you're at, and it's a bit like learning, or it's a bit like assuming, for example, that you can drive a truck, or a semi-trailer, because you've been driving a car for 20 years. Obviously, yeah, you're probably going to pick it up quicker than what you did when you first started to learn to drive, but, driving a truck or a semi-trailer is significantly different from driving a regular car, right? And to illustrate this point as well, there was a Stanford University study published in 2021 that explored diet compliance with kind of like perfect conditions. So basically, kind of like a done-for-you food service, and then, a period where you had to do your own food, right? So they could get some data around diet compliance. And the researchers here used 42 adults, average age like 59, to spend 12 weeks on either a Mediterranean diet or a keto diet. And they either had type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. And then after 12 weeks, the participants had to switch diets. So the ones on the Mediterranean diet, for example, would then go into keto, etc., etc. And the participants had to maintain a food log throughout that study. Now, before I go any further, we usually know when we're looking at these studies as well, right, that people overstate and they're not great at accurately keeping food logs, right? So there is a bit of variability in that, but this is kind of, so there's a bit of self-reporting in there, which means that you're going to have some subjectivity bias on some of this data. But that aside, for the first 4 weeks of the diets, the participants were given all of their meals and snacks. So there was no cooking or food prep required. They just had to eat what was given to them, which sounds amazing, right? If you ever have to cook for multiple people or do your own meal prep, that kind of thing just sounds amazing. But during the next 8 weeks, participants were then on their own. So the first 4 weeks of the 12-week block, they got their food delivered, but then on the next 8 weeks, they were on their own, and they had to plan, shop for, and cook the meals that worked with the diet they were following, right? And so, interestingly enough, the compliance was about 70% when the food was delivered, and 50% once deliveries dropped off, regardless of what diet they were on. And the thing is as well, the participants were actually given the option to extend the food delivery service as well, but all the participants declined and preferred to prepare their own foods. And it was, when they researchers asked why, it was they discovered that it was mostly due to the participants saying that they wanted the variety, and I'm also assuming that here that the food quality was an acceptable level. I don't really have much detail around what participants rated the food taste or quality like, because, for example, if any of us have done FIFO, yeah, there's food provided, but most of it's inedible, right? So the participants were all eager to, what was another interesting fact as well, is the participants were eager to receive shopping lists, recipes and sample meals. However, when they were actually provided this, they rarely used them, right? And the participants preferred making their own meals over eating the meals that were given to them by a nutrition scientist. And whilst they wanted expert created shopping lists, meal ideas and recipes, they just didn't use them. and they ended up making only small adjustments to their normal diet. And so, again, it seems that, what people think they want and what they actually want and what they can actually do is very different. And that's because, in reality, diets just don't solve the real challenges that people have when it comes to this, right? And we don't tend to eat, particularly, like if you look at a keto diet, it's very restrictive. You basically have a bunch of random items that are kind of put together. They're not exactly in a recipe or anything that's, particularly appetizing. And it's just not the way that normal people eat, right? And so there's that. But the other thing is as well, right? Diets don't tend to meet you where you're at in terms of how you're actually eating, what you're actually doing with your life, what you understand about nutrition, whether or not you meal prep, how you do your food shopping, all of those nuances, right? And in a sense, meal plans are like heavy barbell squats, right? You need to build up to them. You need to learn the right to progress in that movement before you can even do a movement for your own safety, for the skill levels, for your own functionality. Like when people still get first into the gym, some of them, everyone starts at a different level. You'll be stronger at certain exercises, certain movement patterns will be better for you, and other times you've actually got to work through some structural and biomechanics and some, inflexibilities and stuff like that, and actually get your body moving properly before you can actually progress to certain exercises. And that happens. That's part of the fun, right? So meal plans are exactly the same. You can't just sort of pick up a meal plan, and if you're not already meal prepping and doing that, expect that it's just going to, happen straight away. And, like, I even struggle at times as well. Like, I just changed over to a new meal plan this week as part of my current fitness and nutrition goals. It was done midweek, which wasn't ideal for me, but it needs to be done, and so I made it happen. But even that was a struggle for me, and I'm an experienced person who basically lives on a meal plan most of the year round, right? So it's not that easy. And so it's also not appropriate for most people as well, right? Now, the reason is as well is that diets and meal plans in themselves don't actually help you build the key skills you need to stay consistent and make nutrition changes. So, if you don't, as I said, if you don't know how to meal prep, or if you don't know how to batch your food, if you don't know what ingredients to do, if you don't know how to measure out your food, and you're not willing to do all of those things, and you're not willing to do them consistently, or, you've got some other things where, you're an emotional eater, or you've got some other things where you use food as comfort or a stress relief or whatever, or you like to go out and you have lifestyle preferences where you like to go out every weekend and have a lot of food and all those sorts of things, then a meal plan is going to be too far out from that, and it's not going to help you build the skills around how you make some changes to your existing lifestyle to start just incorporating some healthier changes and so on. So, anyway, it's getting to that time of the night where I clearly need some more food myself. But anyway, I hope that helps. Look, if you are looking to get a meal plan or go onto a diet, just have a think about, what that will actually do, because the reality is as well, diets and meal plans are usually short-term as well, right? So, yeah, you might find that meal plan and that diet gets you some results in the short term, but the problem is that if you don't learn the skills behind or understand why that meal plan is there, then you're going to struggle to maintain and sustain those results over time. Because your body and your metabolism are going to change during that time as well if you do have a transformation of that period of time. And so you need to be able to build habits in sustainable rather than going from a 0 to 100. So I hope that helps. Hope that clarifies some. I hope that steered you in the right direction that might help accelerate your journey. And keen to understand as well what diets or meal plans have you tried that didn't work for you, and upon reflection, why that might have been.